Top story on ABC News Breakfast. Syria's peace envoy Kofi Annan has had enough. Frustrated by the worsening civil war, he's given up on diplomacy and will resign at the end of the month. Mr Annan has blamed finger-pointing and name-calling in the UN Security Council.
He says the failure to agree on sanctions against President Assad has undermined his ability to do his job. Meanwhile, there's been no let-up in the battle for control of Aleppo. The Syrian army is also trying to drive out armed rebels from Damascus, where activists say dozens of people have been executed.
For more, our North America correspondent Jane Cowan joins us from Washington. Good morning, Jane. What explanation has Kofi Annan given for why he's stepping down?
Well, Karina, hi. He's blaming not just intransigence on the part of the Syrian regime, but also, as you say, this clear lack of unity on the Security Council and disunity in the broader international community. He is saying at a time when the Syrian people desperately need action, what they are getting is finger-pointing and name-calling on the Security Council. And his mission clearly has been plagued by deep divisions on how to best approach the situation in Syria as the violence continues. There was the abject failure of his ceasefire plan in April that never took hold. There have been these three blocked attempts, blocked by Russia and China, these attempts by Western and Arab nations to pass resolutions in the Security Council that would have really ratcheted up the pressure on the Assad regime. And now Kofi Annan is really saying that as peace envoy, he can't want peace more than the protagonists who control the outcome. Let's have a look at what he has said in Geneva.
Without serious, purposeful and united international pressure, including from the powers of the region, it is impossible for me or anyone to compel the Syrian government in the first place, and also the opposition, to take the steps necessary to begin a political process.
So, Jane, what's been the reaction to Kofi Annan's decision?
Well, the UN chief Ban Ki-moon has responded to this through his spokesman, who is really praising Kofi Annan's efforts, which he describes as determined and courageous. He has expressed profound admiration for what he says is a most difficult and thankless task. The White House, however, is saying that Kofi Annan's departure really underlines the failure of the Assad regime to abide by the peace plan, and also is pointing the finger more now at Russia and China, saying this underscores too the failure of those countries to hold the Assad regime accountable. But it has to be said that the US for some time now has been shifting its focus away from the diplomacy at the Security Council, which it's seen as deadlocked since the failure of that last resolution, and is instead said to be looking more at backing the rebels. And the US President Barack Obama is said to have signed a secret order that authorises the CIA and other American agencies to help the rebels in ways short of providing arms, as another way of getting President Bashar al-Assad out. But when you look at the other side, the Russian President Vladimir Putin is saying that he regrets Kofi Annan's departure, and he's calling the situation in Syria a tragedy. Let's have a listen to what the Russian ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin, has had to say.
We regret that he chose to do so. We have supported very strongly Kofi Annan's efforts. He has another month to go, and I hope that this month is going to be used as effectively as possible under these very difficult circumstances in order to keep pursuing the goal of a political settlement in Syria and stopping the bloodshed in that country. And I'm very encouraged that the Secretary General is already working on finding a successor for Kofi Annan who would be able to pick up this daunting task of putting an end to the crisis in Syria.
That's the Russian ambassador to the UN, Vitaly Churkin. Well, Jane, this doesn't bode well for the chances of a diplomatic solution in Syria, does it?
No, and the UN Chief Ban Ki-moon's spokesman was pressed on this by journalists in New York, saying, you know, the problems experienced by Kofi Annan aren't just his alone, that anyone who succeeds him, won't they face exactly the same problems? And the response to that from Ban Ki-moon's spokesman was that the office of this international peace envoy remains. It will continue to do its job. And he's saying that the hand that was extended to Syria, to both sides there, was Kofi Annan's hand, but it also was the hand of the Security Council, and that the six-point peace plan still remains the best option, and that will continue. But interestingly, Karina, the French, who hold that rotating presidency on the Security Council, are saying that the differences there amongst the members are irreconcilable, and that they will be shifting their focus now to getting the members to agree instead on the less controversial aspect of getting some kind of humanitarian relief to the people affected by the fighting.